and have been available in this market and are good for the whole family. In keeping with the thematic focus of the PCA Church in this Christian Education Week, where the theme is Freed to Free, natural medicine is available in this part of the world in numerous ways, but has not been given adequate attention. We see Eden Health and Immune Booster as a way of harnessing what God provides in nature for the nurturing of the health of our people. And we'd like to encourage Kenyans and Christians in this country to appreciate that God put in nature everything that they require for general health and wellness. In today's feature, I would like us to present a testimonial by Dr. Peter Okaalet, who is a medical doctor and a theologian and has been involved a lot in the discussions about health in the interventions of Christians, to give us his testimony and his nexus with Eden Health and Immune Booster.
My name's Peter Okaalet. People normally say Okaalet or Okaalet, but I say Okaalet because there are two A's in there. I come from the eastern part of Uganda, Teso, by tribe. Married to Sarah Okaalet. And by the grace of God, He's given us 4 children and 4 grandchildren. Became a medical doctor in 1979. So that is who I am. I've lived in this country for about 30 years now. Originally from Uganda, became a medical doctor in 1979. Worked in Uganda for 10 years. In the course of my working as a doctor, a young man contracted HIV and the complications of HIV, which we call AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, set in, and John was dying with the complications of AIDS. In 1988, he challenged me. Doctor, if I were you, I wouldn't do more courses in medicine. I would go to theological school. I said, why? As a medical doctor, you are training as a doctor. He's not helping you to help me. I'm dying of complications of AIDS. So he suggested, if you do theology or become a pastor, you will be helping people comprehensively, both physically, also spiritually, psychologically, and otherwise. That was 1988. My wife wasn't ready to come to school. I had already identified the school, the Nairobi Evangelical Graduate School of Theology. 88, my wife Sarah was not ready to come with me. 89, she wasn't ready. 1990 September, I closed my clinic. She resigned her job as a deputy headmistress of a large school, Tororo Girls School, to come to the Nairobi Evangelical Graduate School of Theology. 2016, I remember the date very well. March 2016, June 30th. I woke up in the morning normally, tried to go to the toilet to ease myself. I couldn't. So I thought maybe I'm not taking enough water. I took more water. Tried to go to ease myself, nothing coming out. Went for a meeting somewhere east of Nairobi. Even at that place, I excused myself a couple of times to try to ease myself. Urine wasn't coming out. Came back. We were then staying at Jonathan Ngeno Estate, not far from here. By 4:30, imagine this is from morning, this area was getting swollen. The pain was intense. I called the medical doctor. He told me, perhaps you're having urethritis. Something has happened. Go to the nearest hospital, let them drain the urine. I visited Langata Hospital. My wife escorted me. Fortunately, we found a senior doctor from Aga Khan Hospital who had visited Langata Hospital. Being a senior doctor, he knew what the problem was. Emptied the bladder over 2 liters of urine. You can imagine the relief that I got after that experience. He told me, tomorrow, make sure you go see a urologist. And that is how the journey of now dealing with the cancer of the prostate started. 2016, 2017, they did all sorts of tests. Yes, the prostate for most adult men usually enlarges. So about 30 to 40% of the people who are over 45, 50 years will get enlarged prostate. We call it benign prostatic hypertrophy, BPH. But not many of them turn into cancer. They did a PSA, prostate-specific antigen. Mine kept fluctuating, 80, 60, 40, coming down to 20, despite the treatment that my urologist was giving me. Eventually, he decided to do surgery to remove part of the gland, Mater Hospital. The next thing that he did was several biopsies, but nothing in terms of cancer was discovered. January 2018, the pain that I went through, November 2017, December 2017, and beginning of 2018, it was so intense. I was admitted in Nairobi Hospital. The doctor now decided to do another biopsy where they took 12 specimens from different parts of the prostate gland. Out of those 12, 11 negative, nothing was found. But the 12th one, that's when they now diagnosed adenocarcinoma, cancer of the prostate. I was put on hormone treatment, started on chemotherapy. Still, there was fluctuation in PSA. So my doctor then referred me to the oncologist who has been looking after me up to now. November of 2019, I was invited to a conference in the US. I went in November. My family joined me in December because some of my children, had not been to the US. You mentioned about that, Emmanuel, that is our firstborn. He and his wife, Dr. Providence, live in Dallas, Texas. So we eventually ended up, all of us, enjoying Christmas in Dallas, Texas. In the course of that time while I was there, I had a fracture of the lumbar vertebra 1. There are many bones at the back, but as you go down lower, you will find the lumbar vertebra 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 5. So the first one, lumbar vertebra, collapsed. We call it a compression fracture. The pain that brought was intense. I was admitted in hospital. I had actually been watching TV with Emmanuel's wife when I started fitting. It is because of a complication of the drug called tramadol, a painkiller, which causes a condition called PRES, posterior reversible encephalopathy syndrome, PRES for short. People in the US, the doctors there didn't find it hard to diagnose. They took the history. How come that you got that fit? When I told them the medicines that I had been taking on account of the pain, they diagnosed that problem. So I was in a hospital, I think 1.5 nights. I was discharged. Came back to Nairobi, January of last year, 2020. The pain was so intense. I saw an orthopedic surgeon who again referred me to my oncologist and said, Peter, you may now need radiotherapy to control that pain at the back. As I was in hospital, going through my phone, I saw the name Jane Karanja. And I remembered he and Canon had talked about Eden. I told her. She asked, where are you? I said, I'm in Nairobi Hospital. Admitted January 14th, discharged on the 27th, which is actually 2 weeks. She told me, immediately you get out of hospital, you need to reconnect with us. She told me story after story of people who had gotten better, different and kinds of cancer from various conditions, including those who were asthmatic. So I said, yes, immediately I leave hospital, completed the radiotherapy. By April, I was calling Canon Karanja and Reverend Jane, where is this product? Which I then started taking in May of last year. If I hadn't told you, or if I didn't tell you that I'm on chemo, you wouldn't have known. Many people who are on chemo go through various complications. The nails become black, the skin becomes black, the hair begins to fall away. But because I had then started taking Eden, those side effects were not obvious to many people. I continued taking it. And I have continued taking Eden. Initially, 50 mils 3 times a day. Then, when I got a little better, started to add on weight. As we were chatting before we started this interview, Herbert, I told you that I'd lost weight. But now, I am over 90 kilos. The children are actually saying, Dad, please control the weight. Other things might be invited into your body if you continue going beyond 90. So I'm working on coming below 90. So towards the end of last year, I went for checkup. My oncologist wanted to see me. We hadn't seen one another for over 3 months. He looked at me entering the examination room. Doctor, you look great. What are you eating? I told him it's not about what I'm eating. It's about what I'm drinking. What is that? He asked. Eden. How do you spell Eden? He actually took a pen and wrote down Eden. Eventually, I told him I would get some notes from Reverend Karanja, Canon Karanja, or maybe then send him something via WhatsApp. Only to find out his secretary had actually known about Eden. So I forwarded the messages that Canon sent to me to her. Then she forwarded to him. Several people have wondered, how come that you now look so different? When you had just come in, Canon was talking about the service that we had last Sunday. That was a Thanksgiving service for God's healing hand upon my life. Yes, I've taken the traditional medicine. I've gone through surgery. I've taken chemo. I've been on radiotherapy. But there is something about this immune and health booster called Eden that has made a difference in my life. Appetite has come back. The strength is there. The hair is beginning to grow. I think these lights are too bright. You may not be able to see it. If you turn off the lights, you'll be able to see that there is actually some hair beginning to come back. The nails are now white. You do not notice any blackness there. This is all by the grace of God and getting to know people like Reverend Karanja. As you have correctly labeled it, it is immune and health, and immune and health booster. Many people who go through conditions such as I've gone through, like cancer, even HIV, the immune system is the one that is attacked. The white blood cells, which protect us from antigens, those other bacteria, viruses, and other conditions that cause the immune system to go down, they affect the white blood cells, which are like soldiers. Anytime there is an invader and you have an army that is strong enough, it will push away that invader. So when that invader comes and finds that your soldiers are not the right number, they are not well equipped, they've been affected one way or the other, then your immune system will continue to go down and down and down until you get a substance or a supplement like this one that now helps to reverse that. So when we say somebody's immune system is strong, what we are actually saying is that the antibodies that resist infections and viruses, etc., are sufficient in number, and they are strong, and they are working in the right conditions. So that is what immune boosters do. We talked about chemo. They need to balance between the side effects of chemo, the good that it brings, but also the bad. Every drug is a poison. So because of the nature of chemo, if it finds that the patient is already weak, it makes some people even weaker. They cannot survive chemo. So that is why even in conventional medicine, doctors, friends who I've talked to these days, they are beginning to say, maybe we better go herbal. All medicines are from plants, either the roots, the bark, the leaves, whatever part of a tree. In West Africa, especially Ghana and Nigeria, conventionally trained doctors like me have opted to study herbal medicine. And there are clinics, there are pharmaceutical shops where you go and you make a choice. Would you want the branded medicine that we doctors give, or would you like a herbal alternative? And the patient makes their choice, because such doctors have gone through training. To become a doctor, you go through training. To become a proper herbalist, you also go through training. So for those doctors who have gone through that kind of training canon, there is no contradiction. There is no challenge. You don't even have to protect your clients, the patients, when they tell you they are taking herbal medicine. So this thing is working. As of now, we'll continue using word of mouth, but at the right time, at the opportune time, when we are now able to go public, when we have the permission, and Canon and Jane will know when that time comes, we'll then be talking about it publicly. And these days, with social media, Zoom and so on, this is something that I'm not surprised could go global, beyond our borders, East Africa, Africa, and even outside of Africa. To the honor and glory of God, who wants us to be healthy. The Bible says a thief comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. John 10:10. But Jesus came that we may have life in abundance. If this is one of the routes to that abundant life, so be it. Why Eden? And why am I taking Eden? I don't think it's just because Canon and his wife Jane are our friends. When somebody is going through a condition called cancer, in some places you don't even want to mention the word, because the mention of the word cancer equals death. Whether doctor or not a doctor, if somebody has cancer, whatever it does in your body, it is no respecter of persons, whether you're a doctor or not. So then when you hear there is a possibility, people have gone to Loliondo in Tanzania because of a hope. People have traveled from Kenya to Western Uganda, Masaka, to look for certain soil, because there was a lady who was supposed to be giving people soil that was helping them to get better. So even as medical doctors, we are human. We want to live long. So when you hear a possibility of this making a difference in your life, despite the chemo and the treatments that I'm getting from hospital, I want to try it out. Despite the fact that I'm a doctor, if I hear that this thing will help you, I will go for it. And by the grace of God, Eden has helped me come this far. So even if it was given to me by another person other than the Karanjas, I would have tried it out. And after I told you a story of my own doctor looking at me and asking, "Doctor, what have you been eating?" I told him it's not about what I've been eating, it's about what I've been drinking. So it helps to try out something that is making a difference in other people's lives. And then, of course, I've also read about it. It is now, you can do Google and find it on the web. There are stories written about it, and the way it is made, it is encouraging. I, being a medical doctor, my antenna are out there, my ears are open, and my eyes, I read a lot. The pharmaceutical industry, I have nothing against them, but first and foremost, they are for profit. When I was working for MAP International, one of the things that we were doing was distributing medicines to over 80, 100 countries. Medicine coming from the US. Pharmaceutical companies donate to MAP International, and then MAP International distributes it. When you begin to come up with alternatives to some of those medications by these pharmaceutical companies, how about you know what you are doing? You are beginning to tell the pharmaceutical company, I have an alternative. And because they are for profit, and if these alternatives are going to cut their profits down, they'll fight you. They'll hit you left, right, and center. And I think maybe you're old enough to remember about Omega. What were we calling it, Omega?
Professor Bell.
Professor Bell and Pearl Omega. Because people who had started supplying Kenya with the medicines for HIV were now beginning to see this thing will reduce the sales of our products. Are we talking about Pearl Omega anymore? Some company, I think in Switzerland, picked up because it was not branded, and they changed the chemical structure, and they are now selling it as something else because it worked. So that is one of the challenges. But if indeed God has created these things that are around us, actually what I hear even from my own oncologist, anything grown from the garden, anything green, anything produced from fruits, take them, natural. They are good for your body. They boost the immune system. Even in their raw form, the lemons, the oranges, and so on. By the way, people are now buying a lot of lemon because they think it is helping to treat coronavirus, COVID-19. So these are natural things placed there by God. It just takes that insight, it takes the revelation and knowledge to just discover. And for a long time, again, before we became doctors, before we were trained by people from outside, our grandmothers, our grandfathers would just go behind the house and get a leaf of a tree. A child has fever, something, then they burn, it causes fumes, so you begin choking, then you begin coughing and choking. Now the thing is working. So they have used it for years. So I'm not scared about natural products. I think that is the way to go.
Eden Health and Immune Booster can safely be taken with conventional medication. Specifically for blood pressure and diabetes, we recommend that patients who take Eden Health and Immune Booster and who take their conventional medication, which is recommended, should measure constantly and record so that they can see the patterns that emerge. Some patients have gone off medication for those conditions. Others have had their medication reduced. But for that one, you really want the body to dictate the path that may be taken. Eden Health and Immune Booster is safe for the whole family. Children can take it and adults can take it, and you don't have to be sick to take Eden Health and Immune Booster. Eden Health and Immune Booster is available with a few agents and at a few locations. It's available at Ufungamano House at the Nairobi University next to State House Girls. It's also available at Eden Hotel and Eden Integrated Health and Wellness Center, Juja, behind Cooperative Bank. It's also available at Subiaco Center in Karen. It's available at the Dimese Sisters, and we deliver on order to most locations in Kenya by parcel delivery service, either by the public service vehicles or G4S. You can access more information about Eden Health and Immune Booster through our contacts www.edenkenya.com, our website, our YouTube channel, Eden Health and Immune Booster, our Facebook page, Eden Kenya, or you can call us on 0721 755 755 or 0707 180 266.